guys, now we're going to do statistics from a table. Let's have a read through. The table shows information about the number of goals a team scored in 38 games. So basically in 7 games they scored 0 goals. In 14 games they scored 1 goal. 11 games they scored 2 goals. 6 games they scored 3 goals, and 0 games they scored 4 goals or more. So first of all, it's always important to just understand what the table is asking you before you start these questions. First, find the median of the number of goals scored. All right, how do you find the median from a table? What you do is you actually have to create a new column. We're going to call this the cumulative frequency, okay? And how does the cumulative frequency work? What we're going to do is in the first, for the first value, we're going to find the number of people, we're going to find a number of games where they scored 0 goals. So it's just still going to be 7. There were 7 games where they scored 0 goals. For the next column now, it's number of games that they scored between 0 and 1 goals. All right. So now it's 0 goals and 1 goal. So we're going to add these up. So 21 games. The next row is for the number of games where they scored between 0 and 2 goals. All right. So 7 plus 14 plus 11. So that's what? 21 plus 11 is 32. The next row is the number of games where they scored between 0 and 3 goals. All right. So that's going to be adding up all these columns. So plus 6 more, so 38. And then the final row is the number of games where they scored between 0 and 4 goals. Or 0 or 4 points. They say goals here but points here. That's kind of confusing. So yeah, the final column, the final row is the number of games where they scored between 0 and 4 points. So it's all of these rows. So let's add all those numbers up. It's going to be 38. So that's step 1. You have to make a cumulative frequency column. So cumulative frequency column. Now, to find the median is just a halfway mark. So if there's 38 games, the most middle game will be the 38. We'll divide it by 2 to find the middle. So 38 games divided by 2 is 19. So we're going to look for the 19th game, okay? Now, all you're going to do is you're going to look for the cumulative frequency at your cumulative frequency column and see where 19 fits in between. Well, I know 19 fits in between 7 and 21. 19 is in the middle of 7 and 21. So we're going to look at these two columns here. All right? And the median will always be the column on the bottom rung, okay? So we either choose between here and here, we're always going to choose the bottom rung, so here. So the median is going to be 1 point, okay? That's it. You don't write 21, you don't write 14, we're finding the median number of goals, so 1 goal, okay? That's it. Next, write the mode. Well, mode's pretty straightforward. Mode is just simply the most common value, okay? So in this case, it would be 1 goal because there were 14 games where they scored 1 goal. That was the most popular number of goals they scored in any game. In 14 games, they scored 1 goal. So we're going to say the mode is 1 goal again. Next, write down the total number of goals the team scored in all 38 games. To find the total number of goals scored, this one's pretty easy. It's all about understanding what the table is saying. So there were 7 games where we scored 0 goals. If there's 7 games where you scored 0 goals, that means 0 goals in total. There's 14 games where we scored 1 goal each. So 14 games, we score 1 goal each. So to find the total number of goals, it's just going to be 14. I just do 1 times 14, so that's going to be 14. Then there were 11 games where they scored 2 goals. If you score 2 goals 11 times, that's 22 goals in total. Next, there were 6 games where they scored 3 goals. If you score 3 goals 6 times, that's going to be 3 times 6 is 18. And there were 0 games where they scored 4 or more goals. So that's just 0 goals, all right? And we add up all those values. So 14 plus 22 is 36. 36 plus 18 is 54. And that was the total number of goals scored. Next, find the mean number of goals scored. To find the mean, we're going to get this value. So to find the mean from group data, you're going to find the total number of goals scored. So total of values basically just do what we did in part C, all right? Multiply the frequency by the category and add up all the values. And you're going to divide it by the number of values. Number of values. So in this case, the total of the values refers to the total goals scored. So total goals. And number of values refers to the number of games played. Number of games. So in total, they scored 54 goals. And we're going to divide that by 38 games. So 54 divided by 38 should give us our mean, all right? So 54, 1.42 goals. And that's how you find your mean. All right? So in the next question, you can try this one by yourself. Actually, I'm going to add the mode as well. Find the mode number of points. And now let's move to statistics from group data, all right? Pretty similar, but what's the only difference? Now let's have a read through. Adam is measuring the heights in centimeters of his tomato plants. So there were 7 plants. So frequency probably means the number of plants. So there are 7 plants, which were between 140 to 150 centimeters. 10 plants between 150 and 160 centimeters, and so on and so on. The only difference in this table compared to the last table is that the categories were fixed. 0 goals, 1 goals, 2 goals. Now here, the categories are grouped, or there's a range to it, okay? But it's very similar. So let's have a look. Estimate the mean height. So remember, to find the mean from group data, first you have to find the total of all the heights over the total frequency, all right? In this case, the total frequency refers to the total number of plants. So total plants and total height. So how many plants, let's start with the bottom. How many plants are there in total? So there's 7 plus 10 plus 15 plus 19 plus 9. Because there's 7 plants which are between 140 to 150. 10 plants between 150 and 160. So these frequency just refers to the number of plants. Let's add up all those values to find the total number of plants. 7 plus 10 plus 15 plus 19 plus 9. 60. There's 60 plants in total. Now we have to find the total height of all the plants. So we'll do the same thing like in the last question. If there's 7 plants which weigh between 140 and 150, we can find the total height. But since our data is ranged, do we times 7 by 140 or 150? What we're going to do, guys, is we're going to multiply 7 by the midpoint of this data, so 155. So we're going to say there are 7 plants, which are 100, oh no, sorry, the midpoint is 145. So we're going to say there are 7 plants, which are 145 centimeters tall each. So how do you find the total height? We're just going to do 7 times 145. And you're going to do that for all the categories. So there's 10 plants, which are 155 centimeters tall. So 10 plants times 155 is, and we'll do the same thing. 15 times 165. 19 times 171 is 175. And then 9 times, what's in between 180 and 200? 190. So we're going to so this is so we're going to add up all these values. Which is 11,000. So the total height of all the plants is 11,000. There are 60 plants in total, so 11,000 divided by 60 is 183.3 centimeters recurring. So same as before, guys. To find the height from a table, you multiply the frequency by the category. We're going to choose the midpoint. you're gonna do it for all of them, add them all up, and divide it by the total frequency. So divide it by 60 plants. Now, estimate why your answer to part A. Explain why your answer to part A is an estimate. Well, why is it an estimate? Because we assumed that there are 7 plants which are 145 centimeters. But these plants could have been anywhere between 140 to 150. We're just assuming we've chosen 145 as the height to help us find the mean. To help us find the mean. So we can say estimate because we assume each plant is the height of the category midpoint. All right. Next, find the median. So how do you do your median? What you have to do is you add that extra column, right? The cumulative frequency column. So I'm going to add it to the end. So the first column is just for plants between 140 to 150. So that's still 7. The next column is from 140 to 160. So it's these 2 columns added up, so 17. The next column is from 140 to 170. So we're going to add up all 3 columns, so 17, 32. The next column is from 140 to 180. So we're going to add all of these up, so 51. And the final column is from 140 to 200. So that's going to be all of these, which is 60. All right. Now there's 60. Now we know the total frequency is 60. If you add up all these numbers. So if we're looking for the median, we're looking for the halfway mark. So we're going to look for the halfway of 60 is 30. We're going to look for the 30th plant. So what we do is we see where 30 lies in between. Well, 30 lies in between 17 and 32. And we always choose the bottom rung. So we're going to say the median category is this category here. 160 to 170. Next, find an estimate for the total height of all the plants. Well, we actually figured it out when we were finding the mean. So in order to find the mean, you have to find the total height of all the plants. So we did 7 times 145, 10 times 155, and we added up all the values. So that gave us 11,000. And that's how you do that question. And the last question is calculate the mode height interval. Remember guys, mode just means the most common. So we just look for the category with the most number of plants. So in this case, the most popular category is this category here. Because there are 19 plants which are between 170 to 180. And that's 19 is more than any other plant. Is more than any other category. So we say the mode is 170 to 180. All right. And over here on this last page, is a question you can try by yourself. I'm going to add, that's part C, part D, find the mode. And that's it. So next thing we're going to do is finding an interquartile range from group data. So let's read this question together. Jordan's school awards certificates for outstanding work. The diagram shows information about the number of certificates awarded in Jordan's class during the term. So 4 students got 0 certificates, 9 students got 1 certificate, 7 students got 2 certificates, and so on. So always first, make sure you understand what the table is saying, all right? Now, part 1, find the median number of circuits awarded. So the median is the same as before, guys. So, we'll just do it just for the sake of it. So whenever you do the median, you always have to draw a cumulative frequency chart. So the first number in our thing will be number of students who got just 0 certificates. So it stays as 4. Our next column is those who got between 0 and 1 certificates. So 4 plus 9 is 13. The next column is for those who got between 0 and 2 certificates. So we're going to add these numbers. So 4 plus 9 plus 7 is 20. All right. The third is from 0 to 3 certificates. So 21. 0 to 4, which is going to be, add this one, 27. And then 0 to 5 certificates, which is basically everyone, which is all of it, which adds to 30. All right. Now, we know now that in total there were 30 students in Jordan's class. We can see because the final value in our cumulative frequency was 30, and if we add up all these numbers, there's 30 students. Okay. So we're looking for the middlemost student. We're going to do 30 divided by 2. So we're looking for the 15th student. So 15 lies between 13 and 20. And should we choose the top or the bottom? Well, we always choose the bottom rung. So the median is 2 certificates, all right? Over here. All right. Next, the interquartile range. So the interquartile range is very similar to the median. Okay. So we're still going to need to use this cumulative frequency chart. Let me just clean it up real quick. So same as before, there are 30 students in this class. Okay. And first of all, actually, the interquartile range is always the upper quartile minus the lower quartile. The upper quartile is the 3/4 mark, and the lower quartile is the 1/4 mark. So if there are 30 students, let's find the lower quartile by finding 1/4 of 30. So I'll do 30 divided by 4 to find 1/4, which is 7.5. So the lower quartile is the 7.5th student, okay? And then the upper quartile is if you find 3/4 of 30. So 30, to find 3/4, we'll divide by 4 and then times by 3, which will be 22.5. So we're going to look for the 22nd.5th person. So let's look for the 7.5th person. Well, 7.5 lies between 4 and 13. We always choose the bottom rung. So the bottom rung is going to be this one over here. 1 certificate. So it's the lower quartile is 1 certificate. The upper quartile, we're going to look for the 22nd.5th student. Well, 22.5 lies between 21 and 27, and we always choose the bottom rung. So the upper quartile is 4 certificates. So the upper quartile is 4, and the lower quartile is 1. We're just going to do 4 minus 1, which gives us 3. So our interquartile range is 3. Now for some word problems. The table shows information about the number of goals scored in a game by a football team. So let's have a read through this table. So 10 games, they scored 0 goals. So frequency just means the number of games, all right? So there are 10 games where they scored 0 goals each, 12 games where they scored 1 goal each, X number of games where they scored 2 goals each, 7 games where they scored 3 goals each, and 0 games where they scored 4 or more goals each. The team scored a total of 55 goals. Find X. Well, this question is all about the total number of goals. So I'm going to think to myself, how do I usually find the total number of goals? Well, all I do is I multiply the frequency by the category. So because there are 10 goals where we scored 0 goals each, so we're going to do 10 times 0 to find the number of goals scored here. So 10 times 0 is 0, plus 12 times 1 is 12, X times 2 is 2X, 7 times 3 is 21, and 0 times 4 is 0. And we know all these goals must add up to 55, like this. So let's combine our like terms. So 0 plus 12 plus 21 plus 0 is going to be 33 plus 2x equals 55. And we're just going to solve algebraically. So x is being multiplied by 2, then added by 33. So we're going to subtract 33 on both sides. Boom, boom. 2x equals 55 minus 33 is 22. 2 times something is 22. Well, x is obviously 11. So x is 11. So there were 11 games where we scored 2 goals. So I realized that the question was all about the total number of goals. So I think, how do I find the total values in a group data? I just multiply the rows. And all of these should add up to give me 55. So I create an equation, simplify it, and solve it. Next one. Simon rolls a fair 6-sided dice 30 times. He records the results in the table, however misses 2 of the frequencies. The mean result is 3.5. Work out the missing numbers. So in this case, the frequency stands for number of times. number of times rolled. So he rolled 1 6 times, 2 3 times. He rolled 3 5 times, 4 an unknown number of times, 5 also an unknown number of times, and 6 times, okay? So I want to find out these two missing numbers. So I'm going to call these numbers x and y, okay? Now I know the mean result is 3.5. So I think to myself, all right, if I'm given the mean, how do I find the mean in group data? Well, step 1 is you find the total of all the values. So you're going to multiply each category. So 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 times 2 is 6, plus 15, plus 4 times x is 4x, plus 5 times y is 5y, plus 6 times 6 is 36. So whenever you're finding the mean, it's the total of values, over total frequency. So we've done total of values so far by multiplying each column together. We divide this now by the total frequency. So we're going to add up all these values. But actually we know that all these values are 30. There's 30 rolls in total. All right? And this gives me a mean of 3.5. All right? So that's how I do it. Total of values, I multiply each row and add it all together. Divided by 30 rolls in total, it gives me a mean of 3.5. Then I'll combine the like terms on the top. All right, so 6 plus 6, 12, plus 15 is 27. 27 plus 36 is 63. So it's 63 plus 4x plus 5y over 30 equals 3.5. All right. Next, I want to find x and y. So let's isolate it slowly. So let's get rid of this fraction first. How do you get rid of divide by 30? We're going to multiply both sides by 30. So that cancels out. So it's going to be 63 plus 4x plus 5y equals, let me find this. I think it's 105 if I'm not mistaken. Good. Then I'll minus 63. So 4x plus 5y is equal to minus 63 here. Well, minus 63 here. 42. We've created some sort of equation. So we can say 4x, I'll make it smaller. We can say 4x plus 5y equals 42. What's next? Because we're not able to solve an equation if we have two unknowns. What else do I know? Well, I know that we rolled 30 rolls in total. So I know all these frequencies must add up to 30 because we rolled the dice 30 times, okay? And the frequency means the number of times rolled. Well, what do these numbers add up to so far? 6 plus 3 plus 5 is, plus 6 is what? So let's add up all these numbers. That gives us 6 plus 3 is 9, plus 5 is 14, plus 6 is 20. So I know these two must add up to 10 because everything must add up to 30 in total. So we know since 6 plus 3 plus 5 plus 6 add to 20, these two things have to add up to 10 because 20 plus 10 is 30. So we can say x plus y must add up to 10. Oh, we've created simultaneous equations, all right? So in order to solve the simultaneous equation, we'll use the elimination method. So we're going to make x's or y's the same. I'll make x's the same by multiplying this equation by 4. So the first equation stays the same, 4x plus 5y equals 42. The bottom equation, multiply it all by 4, so x times 4 is 4x, plus y times 4 is 4y equals 40. Then how do I get rid of 4x and 4x? Well, I'll subtract them. 4x minus 4x is nothing. So 4x minus 4x is nothing. 5y minus 4y is 1y. And 42 minus 40 is 2. So I know y is 2. And if x plus y must add up to 10, x must be 8. So x is 8 and y is 2. And that is our answer, okay guys? I was given the mean, so I thought, how do I find the mean? Well, I find the total of all the values by multiplying each row together and adding them up. Then you divide it by the total frequency, which is 30, because I swore over here is 30, which gives me 3.5. Then I simplified it to create this equation. All right? Then I realized that all the frequencies must add up to 30, because I rolled the dice 30 times. So these numbers already add to 20. So these two numbers had to add up to 10, because 20 plus 10 is 30. So I said x plus y equals 10. I created a simultaneous equation. I matched the x's. I subtracted to find y is 2. If y is 2, x must be 8, because x plus y must be 10. All right, and that is it. Final question. The star rating from 1 to 5 of hotels in the city are summarized below. Let's have a read through this table. So frequency is 4 of a star rating of 1. Frequency here means the number of hotels. So 4 hotels have 1 star. 17 hotels have 2 stars. 23 hotels have 3 stars. X number of hotels have 4 stars. 18 hotels have 5 stars. The mean star rating of a hotel in the city is 3.575. Calculate the value of the missing frequency X, okay? So what I do is I think, I'm given the mean. So I think to myself, all right, if I'm given the mean, why don't we create a calculation for the mean? So how do we find the mean? Well, step 1, we have to find the total values, okay? And we have to divide that by the total frequency. So that's how you find the mean of any group data. So the total values, to do that, we're going to multiply each row together, like before. So 4 times 1 is 4. 17 times 2 is 34. 3 times 23 is 69. 4 times unknown is 4x. We don't leave this empty. Let's give us a value. And they give it for us, x. So 4 times x is 4x. 5 times 18 is 90. All right? Over the total frequency. Well, the frequency is the number of hotels. So we have to find the total number of hotels. But the problem is, we know most of how many hotels there are, but we don't know how many 4-star hotels there are. Let's just make an expression instead then. So we can do 4 plus 17 plus 23 plus 18. So it's 62 plus x, all right? So that's the total frequency, 62 plus x. And we know this gives us a mean of 3.575. So this is equal to 3.575. All right? Next, let's combine the like terms. I see some like terms. That seems like a logical thing to do. So let's add up 4 plus 34 plus 69 plus 90. 197 plus 4x over the bottom is just going to be 62 plus x is equal to 3.575. All right, let's put this on top. Next, the next logical step. So I want to find x now. If you're a bit stuck, you see a fraction, get rid of the fraction, right? So we're going to multiply both sides by 62 plus x. 62 plus x here. So that cancels out. To 197 plus 4x is equal to 3.575 times 62. So we're going to multiply 3.575 by both terms. So 221.65 plus 3.575 times x is just going to be 3.575x. Next, oh, lovely. We got rid of the fraction. There's two unknowns on both sides. It's always good to get rid of one of them. And we always want to get rid of the smaller one so we avoid negative numbers. So we're going to get rid of this 3.575x. Well, it's plus, so we're going to minus it on both sides. So minus 3.575x on both sides. Minus it here. So it's going to be 197. 4 minus 3.575 is positive 0.425x is equal to, that cancels out, 221.65. Then x is being multiplied by 0.425, then being added by 197. So let's get rid of this 197 to get x by itself. So we're going to minus 197 on both sides. Minus 197. Boom. So 0.425x is equal to 221 minus 221.65 minus 197 is 24.65. Now x is being multiplied. Let's write it below here. So x is being multiplied by 0.425. So we're going to divide by 0.425. Divide by 0.425. So x is equal to 24.65 divided by 0.425, which is 58. So there are 58 hotels with 4 stars.